So Snerdcast. So we're coming back with some Shnerd bites.
Hell yeah.
And got Mr. Old Faithful over here. Thank you, Cultcanon, for being
You know
here.
how it is.
And today we're talking about some more Dexter, which just dropped and we just watched it. And man, this one was a good fucking episode, man. And some
Yeah,
of
it
our
was.
predictions were true. Some of
Yeah.
them
You
were
know,
a
some of
little
they're
true, but like a little
off,
off.
a little off. I won't jump ahead here, but the podcaster and the daughter's top five
Yeah.
thing, we were only a little bit off from that. Like literally by like that fucking much, like micro penis size.
So we're gonna be doing heavy spoilers, obviously, like we do every episode. Since this one was kind of a Harrison heavy episode, let's talk about him and what he was saying. And you were close, dude. You were close. You were talking about the school shooting
Yep.
and
Something happening around that type of scenario.
yeah, and so to explain what happened is Harrison ended up getting into a fight with Ethan, and they make it seem like Ethan was a school shooter and everything, as they
Yep.
showed you in the last end of the second episode or the last episode.
Yeah, the last
But
episode.
turns out Harrison's going into his wicked ways, his dark
Yeah,
passenger.
what it seems like to me is Harrison seen an opportunity to prevent something from happening and then put a slash through that, no pun intended, slash through that. It also seemed like Harrison is following the code.
Yeah, he has some kind of code. And you know what? I wanted to bring out my little theory real quick.
Yeah, please do.
What I really do believe he found out everything he did when he was in Miami. So I think he ended up finding out
Oh,
like who
you
Dexter
said that.
was and everything.
Yeah,
So I believe that when he's in Miami, I said some crazy stuff, but I do believe at some point he did figure out who Dexter Morgan is.
really, really is.
So I think he's kind of playing like stupid when it comes to
Jim.
interactions with Jim with
Yeah.
Dexter. So yeah, I just want to throw my little 2 cents in
No,
there.
no, I agree. I think this episode verifies either that and or that Hannah told Harrison everything.
True. Yeah, true. I didn't think of that. But
So there's definitely, because there's a lot of nuances where it's like either he went to Miami and found out, or Hannah told him everything and now he's trying to be just like dad. And I told you this in the notes. Harrison calling Dexter dad is starting to become very suspicious to me,
you think
because
so?
I know, so that is very fucking weird, because if you remember in the earlier seasons, it was a long run before Esther and
Cody?
Cody started calling
I don't know
him
how I
dad.
remember that, honestly.
But in those earlier seasons, it was a big deal when they started calling Dexter dad, even though he wasn't their dad. But
True.
it took a long time.
Yeah,
And
because
like
Dexter ended up killing their dad and
killing
or
their dad.
setting him
Well,
up.
no, sending him to jail, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
he gets killed in jail. Which I think coincidentally he gets killed the same way Jeffrey Dahmer got killed in real life.
Oh wow.
In the old seasons, I mean. But Harrison calling him dad is very weird. It seems semi-obsessive, and it also seems like there's some secrecy, like what we've been saying.
Yeah. So like I'm this is what I was thinking too, because I remember the first review, he was saying that remember he did the first episode, I mean, he said that he did a lot of drugs back then.
Yeah.
So I do think there's maybe some kind of like
Dude,
truth
what
to
if
that now, because
there
if he
might
has some dark passenger, like some dark tendencies, maybe he was
wait,
doing
wait,
drugs to help suppress them.
you
Maybe
may
not
be
like
right.
hardcore drugs, but maybe
You may be right, but what if there's a correlation between Harrison saying he did drugs to hide his dark passenger, and Dexter in the earlier seasons using drug addiction to hide his dark passenger? Remember earlier?
That's true. Yeah,
So what if I think all of a
because
sudden
Stokes
now,
found him at the
at,
AA, whatever, the
yeah,
anonymous.
the anonymous addictions anonymous or whatever thing, he was like a drug addict he was pretending to be. So what if Harrison found that out, and now he's trying to subtly hint to Dexter, I'm just like you.
Maybe he could be, but they do show some things with him, kind of like that Dexter never really felt is or maybe he did, but he never really showed it as much as Harrison is showing it right now. You could tell that Harrison's feeling a lot of guilt. You know what I mean?
Guilt and also uncertainty.
Yeah, because I think what I say about by that though is when he's talking to the parents, he goes to the hospital to visit. He went to go visit Ethan, and the parents were there, and so when they were like pretty much saying like, why didn't you tell us anything? Like, why didn't you could have done to stop us?
Yeah, the
Which
mom was
obviously
freaking out.
you don't know this at the time, but we know that he attacked him and almost killed him. And so you could see like in the face that he was just like kind of like he started almost teary-eyed, like, what have I done? Like you could tell he's feeling some regret and like you're saying, like kind of some kind of confusion of like this is wrong. And then he also kind of backs that up with the speech at the end that he does, where he's like, you guys all picked on him and he's kind of a victim too because you guys kind of created that.
And we all have a little bit of monster in us and a little hero in us, and which side you choose is on you. And most of you guys have been monsters to this guy who became a monster. So take the blame where blame is due is basically what the gist of it was. And just so we're not bouncing around too much. Dexter, using his forensic brain, he realizes that Harrison's lying about getting stabbed. That Harrison probably stabbed himself.
Yeah, which he did. And
which he did because he finds the straight razor at the end of the episode.
Yeah, so this episode is like more, it feels like the moral, there's like obviously like morality, thoughts and everything.
Yeah.
It also is showing that there's more than one predator besides Dexter out there.
Yeah, and it really is. It from Harrison's character, yes, but all the way to the dad, the rich dad,
Kurt.
And we still have not seen if Kurt is the morgue serial killer or if he's tied to that killer. But there is a little bit of a predatorial sense going on in this community.
I do believe he is the killer because it showed him taking that chick to the house, and it had the cabin. It had the little thing. I don't know if it's the same cabin. I mean, now they all could be like kind of the same kind of style in that area. So maybe it was something to just throw us off. But I believe it was it because I don't know how far he is away from the crime scene. We don't have that information.
And also keep in mind that if Kurt is that morgue serial killer, which I would, he's either the killer or he knows the killer. It's one or the other. But if he is the killer, it kind of gives a little bit of a reasoning behind why he's lying about his son FaceTiming him, because we never actually seen that FaceTime.
Well, let's clear that up too, since we're talking about him. You see him talking to Angela, the cop chick, in the beginning.
The native Deborah.
Yeah.
Just so anybody wondering. Oops.
So he and he's telling her like, oh yeah, everything's fine, everything's good. Like and later in that episode, before he ends up talking to the girl out in front of his store
with the green hair. Yeah.
He is looking at pictures of Matt. If he's lying, but I don't know if that's him being like, my son's still out there. I don't know if he's dead or if he's,
I think that what's happening a little bit here, and I didn't put this in the notes, is that the reason he's lying, or maybe lying and or confused about his son, Matt, right, is because I think that something in their past is too revealing about how the dad actually is. So meaning if they dig into Matt's background, they'll end up finding out, oh, Kurt is not a good guy. Like this is not a good scenario.
Well, remember in the very beginning of the episode too, they're doing the little connected dots of what could possibly come of this. Is Kurt, why he's lying is he's going to kill one of the Native American people that was at the crime scene, and thinking is one of them, or he could dig a little deeper and find out that it was
which Dexter points out when he brings Harrison the drone. He's like, he just was fishing and I took the bait.
He brought the drone, dude. I think
because remember what Dexter said. Dexter was like, this whole thing felt like he was fishing and my stupid ass just took the bait because he brought up how he knew about the boat accident. That's when the dad was like, huh? How'd you know about that?
How the fuck did you know about that? He wasn't driving. And then he
Yeah,
tried to kind of like clean up his trail by being like, when he was a teenager, and he's like, Matt wasn't a teen. He's like, oh, I didn't know that, but
yeah, he
that
fucked up.
so that's a good thing to bring up because I think that drone, I think the dude has it bugged.
Bugged and or yes, I agree. And or it's a moment of kind of foreshadowing that the dad feels like the eye in the sky of this town.
True, maybe. Another theory I kind of want to bounce off you is maybe that could be a piece of where like Harrison's using the drone and then he sees Dexter killing somebody.
See, and that's kind of what I meant about foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So it felt like that moment of setting something up for episode 5. I said this in the last thing, and I'll say it again. I think episode 5 or 6, we are gonna get a fucking crazy episode.
Yeah.
And I think a lot's gonna happen in one episode. Because this is very reminiscent and nostalgic of a lot of the previous Dexter seasons already.
What's funny too is like not much happened in this episode, like if you really think about it, but it pushed the story like really far. You know what I mean?
And it's funny because if you think about all the seasons, we're 4 episodes in, going on 5 next Sunday. This season is amazing. It's really amazing.
It's been good so far.
But it's funny because it has the least amount of Dexter being Dexter in it.
Yeah. Well, this is the most Dexter that we get from this episode.
It is. And just to go back, just to talk about more about Harrison and the dad, Kurt situation. I absolutely was at the edge of my seat when he was like, Deborah, take the knife and let's replay the Harrison Ethan situation. And then he stabs himself. I was like, the way that they made this guy's mind work is amazing. It really is.
That was
go on.
I was just gonna say that's his like go-to. That's his motto, bro. Fucking
his forensic mind.
Yeah, he was a blood spatter expert.
Blood spatter.
Yes, with the blood spatter expert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you remember in season like 7 or 8, he's like that English dude or whatever is like, it's not splatter, it's spatter. Remember?
Spatter. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, it's spatter. Yeah. But I really love that scene when he's imagining it because we're getting a lot of that this season. Him imagining scenarios. And I love
it's a good way for them to include Deb without having to be alive or like kind of retcon it.
Exactly. And I also love that Deborah was wrong in this episode.
Yeah, I think she was kind of more of like the morally like
sound. 1 + 1 = 2 in this situation. And what I mean by that is if Dexter is the negative one and Deborah is the positive one, there's a scenario where they zero themselves out perfectly.
Yeah,
it's just really awesome to see that what was it, Harry Dexter moment between Deborah and Dexter
when they found out he actually did, when he sliced her in the leg.
Yeah, and also,
you know, it's the first thing I thought of when that happened. I was like, Josh was probably smiling so bad. I was like, yes,
yeah,
finish her now. No,
finish them. I really enjoyed this. This episode actually made me tolerate Deborah a little more because it showed a moment where Deborah's not this righteous, always right, morally sound person. Because in the beginning, she's like, Harrison's not like you. He is heroic. He is confident. He is popular. And then it turns around and there's that moment when he finds the knife, the straight razor. And she's like, holy fuck, I was wrong. And Dexter has that moment of, this is exactly what Trinity used to use to kill his victims.
The straight edge blade.
A straight razor. Yeah. For shaving.
Since you're talking about that, did you see what happened at the end?
Speculate. I
like,
do
like, you know, like the very, like he just put it to his face and he just kind of just like, did you see what happened at the last like couple frames?
What?
So you know how he looked hella concerned holding like the blade up to his mouth?
Yeah.
Dude, that fool just fucking, if you look back at the last couple frames, that fool does a huge smile, like he starts fucking
like he's
doing
proud,
the Joker.
like he's happy.
Because he's like,
so
because you remember what he says though, he's like, he does have my dark passenger, and it looks like he's just like, no, like this isn't supposed to happen, but then he gets a fucking huge cheesy fucking smile.
So I think that is kind of a fuck you moment to subconscious Deborah, because Deborah's like, you want him to be this way when she still thought that Harrison was innocent.
Yeah.
She was like, you only want him to be this way because in your sick mind, you want to have a serial killer family. And Dexter was like, that's not it. And at the end, he had a moment of, that's exactly it. Like, I'm so happy.
They also did like a little thing too with Deborah where he he fantasized about like a bunch of Deborahs holding up "We love you, Dexter" signs and picture of him. Like, I kind of like how they go over the top with her because that's something she would do too. That's like for her like character, like she would really be like go over the top just to be like, "Fuck you, you idiot."
Yeah. And you know what? I also noticed that this season is doing something that I think is a fan service, because in all of the previous seasons, all the fans were like, can you just make Deborah wrong once? She never acknowledges in any of the other seasons that she was wrong about some things. She's always right. She's always the holier than thou, fucking no pun intended, trinity of the bunch.
I think just because they made her seem like the quote unquote last shred of innocence that Dexter probably had.
Yeah, and in this moment, we really have that. It's really awesome to see her like eat her words, for a lack of better terminology, eat crow. Where it's like, you're wrong, bitch.
Oh, we're
like,
going back to this analogy, huh?
I really like that they did that. And you're right. I do remember that. And when they end it with him kissing with the blade to his lips and he's smiling, that was like,
it's literally like 1 second, dude. It's like 2 or 3 frames, and then it just cuts to black.
Cuts to the credits. Yeah, cuts to the credits.
I mean, even though this episode, like I said, a lot doesn't really happen because Dexter just really is fishing for clues to see if Harrison did end up like hurting this kid or like, you know what I mean, did attack the Ethan or not. And because at the very start, you can see Dexter like puts everything together. He looks at the evidence and the blood. And when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, maybe it's just like because he gets all like, he gets all fucking horny around blood." But
he gets a boner.
But it was actually him saying like, "Wait a second, like he looked
this isn't right."
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't right. Yeah, and I absolutely love that. This episode is one of my favorite ones so far. It's not my favorite one. My favorite one is when he actually kills the rich kid, obviously, because that's what the story is driven on, being Dexter being a killer, not a fucking forensic analyst, or a blood spatter analyst. But I really enjoyed this episode because of that factor of him figuring shit out. And because we haven't got to see that in like 8 years. So it's really cool to see that aspect of Dexter.
Yeah, because like you're saying, like we haven't seen that in a long time, and then we've had him like be on the sets or like on crime scenes, but that's him more sabotaging it than anything.
So I have a prediction that I want to say before I forget, and I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong about this. But you know how Dexter had to kill his brother, the ice truck killer, Rudy.
Rudy, yeah. I don't know if I'll cut that out or not because I was actually pretty good.
I had to figure it out myself. I'll be pissed if this happens, but it kind of, because the way that Harrison keeps saying dad now all of a sudden, for like no reason, it happened out of nowhere. I kind of feel like Harrison is a killer and he follows the code and he's here to kill Dexter.
Ooh.
And if that's the case, I'm going to be pissed if it ends with Dexter dying like that by Harrison. But at the same time, it makes like almost perfect sense because that's what he had to do. Dexter had to do with his brother, Rudy.
Yeah, dude, that's a fucking crazy ass theory, man. Fucking.
I hope I'm wrong, but that's the vibe I'm getting. And I told you in that text message, I was like, Harrison keeps saying dad. And I'm now all of a sudden
he's like trying to gain his trust or like get him to drop his guard or something.
It's exactly it.
In theory, I like that one.
It's what it reminds me of is one animal against another, and the animal is trying to sneak attack, like the way a cat will go to its back to bite another cat's throat, like a wild cat. It's just like this with two predators. And I'm not saying, I hope that's not the case, but the more I watch it and the more he says dad, I'm like, something fishy is going on with Harrison, and it kind of feels like Dexter's going to get the shit into the stick. That we basically hit the nail on the head with this episode. It's mainly about Harrison, and a lot of it. I mean, the only thing we didn't talk about was the podcaster, and I'll bring that up.
Angela.
And I'll bring that up. So that conversation at the dinner table, the daughter says in the previous episode.
How did we forget to bring that up? What the fuck? I mean, we talked about it at the beginning of the episode, but we didn't. Okay, go.
Yeah. So at the previous episode, they're all eating dinner. Harrison, Dexter, the cop girlfriend, and her daughter, Angela, yeah. and the daughter that basically Harrison has a thing for. And again, that daughter was on Ethan's supposed kill list. We don't know how accurate that is yet. That could have just been a fuck you list. Anyways, the daughter says, "Hey, I'll show you my top 5 true crime stories." And our prediction was that a majority of Dexter's victims were going to be on it.
We kind of jumped the gun on that.
well, I still think that that's accurate because we have not gotten to that yet.
They could have,
however,
any of them, but
yeah, any of them. But however, our prediction essentially to run it down was some of Dexter's serial killer victims were going to be on that list. We were not wrong because the podcaster,
it's about the murderers, not the murderees, I guess.
Yeah, and it's called Mary Fuck or Kill was her, because her first name's Mary, I think, or something like that. Anyways, one of her episodes is about Trinity and about Rita, and and Harrison is listening to that episode about Rita before this school shooting thing happens,
like right before.
Yeah, and it literally just, there is no explanation. It literally, he's listening to it, and then all of a sudden there's an Amber Alert, and Harrison's in the hospital because of a stab wound, which we've already assessed.
He's at the crime scene.
Crime scene. Yeah, and
that's when the alert goes out, and
and we already went over that, but I still don't think we're wrong about them at the dinner table with the top 5 true crimes, the daughters.
We were just also more about like, I mean, we were right. We named exactly what they. I don't think we thought about the story but
we knew though that Trinity was going to get brought up at one point due to Harrison's tie to him,
and he also had the flashbacks of Dexter picking him up in the blood. So that means he did remember that.
Yeah, and also I want to kind of bring up
who Rita is, his real mom. So. I mean, obviously he did say that in the beginning, but
he did, yeah. And also I want to bring up one other thing. I hate to say it, but this kind of supports my theory that Harrison is there to kill Dexter, because he might blame Dexter for
what happened, and
which
he might know everything, dude. He might know exactly like the Bayheart, like he might like
all that shit.
That'd be cool. That's actually a good theory, because he was like I said. I was saying like he was in Miami, and maybe
if he went to Miami.
And found out all the stuff, and like you know what I mean. So maybe you're right, dude. Maybe he fucking is there. He might do what he thinks is right. He thinks is right.
He might be, or it could be he's there to learn from Dexter. But there is something happening with Harrison that is not being revealed. And I'll even go to say this. I'll say one other theory, that Harrison is in cahoots with whoever that morgue killer is. And I hope I'm wrong.
I think that's going out on a limb, so I'm not going to really agree with that one.
No. I hope I'm wrong. I'm just, the way the previous seasons have gone, when Dexter picks up a protege, it always goes wrong. Yeah, it always goes wrong. Well, and now we have his son doing it, and so
let's talk about the podcaster, because the whole time it was her and Angela whenever they talked.
Yeah,
because Dexter was in there. Dexter was in there, but that was him just discovering so we talked about that. But so the Yellow did bring in the vodka, or like the fucking,
which
the
was
mixers.
So stupid. It felt like product placement. That is one of my that scene I didn't like that. That scene I didn't like very much.
But what was crazy about that conversation was she was pretty much proving that she's not just some bullshit fucking journalist trying to like get some hits.
Who was that girl? Who was the girl in the pictures?
She said that was alive?
Yeah, who was that?
So that's somebody that she was saying that like that, I guess it happens a lot, or just like small town
a girl went disappears
and just is really just trying to like just start up fresh from a new start.
That's what I thought. Okay.
So because it took me a second. I was like, what the fuck? Who is this? And it was just the podcast chick. I don't remember her name, but it was just her trying to pretty much show her that she's legit and not
Yeah.
like not trying to get like fucking hits on YouTube,
Clout
like
and
hits.
shit.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was interesting. You know, one thing that fucking blew my mind and it just all clicked just because the song got stuck in my head. So when she's talking to the podcaster, she says, "So they're not all runaways," and she knew that Iris, the Native American that went missing, was killed. You know, or she thinks she was killed or something happened to her. And then there was she did show her that two of them were like kind of missing, and it was Iris and it was another chick. I didn't see the other chick, but it might be that one girl that just got shot.
Oh,
But you know what was
yeah.
crazy?
Huh.
So, and this is just me like just being hella weird fanboy, like paying
Yeah,
attention to
running.
weird shit.
Yeah.
She said she called them runaways, and one of the ones that were dead got killed by the killer, and the song that they were playing was the runaway, oh run, 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 the runaway.
Oh
So I
shit,
was
good
like, dude, so
call.
whoever the killer is, like, plays that song, like, because he did choose that song. So it's like
Yeah.
she said, I don't know, it was just weird, like a weird thing, like whoever did the editing and like the fucking like the whoever thought out like the music and the edit like in the dialogue to like kind
The
of
score. It's called a
intertwine,
score.
dude. It's so good because you just
Yeah.
the little shit like that drives me fucking wild because
So
somebody thought of like how can I use this song in the dialogue that also is part of the story, like
yeah, that is true. I love
dude,
that. I love that. Good call.
I fanboyed out so hard for the
So
dude.
just
Everybody in my
so
house is probably like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Oh my god,
dude, I did the same thing. I started jumping up and down when they brought up Trinity. I started jumping up and down. I was like, I fucking knew it. Like I started screaming. But just so everybody listening, in TV shows and in movies, when you hear music in the movie or a TV show, it is professionally referred to as scoring. Just so everybody knows.
Not fucking.
Not
Editing.
fucking, not smashing, not rape. It's called scoring. But I really like that. That's an awesome fucking catch on your part. This, like you're pointing out, this season, based on like not based on what you based on what you said, is very well thought out with love.
Yeah, that's a good word to use. Like somebody really did put love and like a lot of heart into this.
I think from the acting on Michael C. Hall as Dexter, I think Jennifer Carpenter returning as a consciousness like Harry was. I think Harrison's acting as the son is just like, it's all very misleading on purpose. And I love it.
And we still have at least, I mean, episode 4. I mean, we still got at least fucking like, excuse me, like 5 episodes. 5.
It's 10 episodes, so we have 6 more.
Well, there you go. We have 6 more, and that's fucking dope.
Like I said, if we're right about Harrison being I don't mean a suspect, but being suspicious.
Yeah. He's hella sus, bro.
He's hella. He is very sus. If we're right, I wouldn't be wrong, and I wouldn't even say. I'll even say this: nothing about this season, even if it is or isn't predictable, is bad so far.
Yeah, like no, everything's good.
Yeah, episode 2 was the slowest episode so far, and thinking back, I'm kind of like, I can't wait to rewatch this.
So let's real quick though, we also kind of missed the Kurt thing. Just at the end, he picks up, like you're saying, the girl with the green hair, and they go back to his cabin.
Yeah, and he has been very weird about this girl for about now 2 episodes, because for 2 episodes now he has shown a lot of interest in this girl. He has given her like $100 for a bus ticket. She used it for food.
Coming back for.
Yeah, it's
apparently
this whole thing is very suspect. In this episode, episode 4, he goes and sees her and is essentially like, what are you still doing here? And she apologizes and goes, if you can just give me a little bit more. This is very drug addict like behavior, by the way, or addict like behavior, whether it's drug or abuse. But then he's like, I can't help you, but I can give you a job. And then he all of a sudden is taking her to the cabin, which does not entail anything at all, because the next episode could start and she could be fine and dandy.
Yeah.
However, However, at the end of one of the previous episodes, that girl who was a drifter,
she was the one. Yeah. But dude, fucking the only reason I say that is because Harrison was talking about his speech where it kept on going like transitioning from Dexter and him and then went to Kurt.
yeah,
When he was saying we all have, he's like we all have monsters inside us, and they're showing him too. And I swear I'm like more than positive that he's the killer because that's like his cabin, bro.
Dude. So I wanted to bring up again.
But I think
agree.
you're right, though. I think you are right that I think she might end up just being fine to help cover his tracks. Like, oh no, I have somebody in my house and they're fine. Like, I think you're.
So a funny story. When I heard this is a quote that I can't fucking stand hearing in movies anymore because it's a Native American quote and it has been abused in Hollywood. So when Harrison's in front of the audience, and I forgot to bring this up to you over text. And I have the quote in front of me, so I'll read it off real quick. When Harrison is talking about there's monsters inside of us and heroes inside of us, we choose which one. I'm so glad that he said it that way because the quote that they're referencing, and this isn't like a theory, this is what I'm pretty positive that they're referencing. It's an old Cherokee quote. And I hear this way too much in movies. I'm fucking sick of hearing it. An example is the movie Tomorrowland with George Clooney. In the beginning of the movie, they say this quote. It's abused, right? But when Harrison is like, there's monsters in us and there's heroes inside of us, I instantly was like, they're referencing this quote because we are in a Native American community. And this is a way of referencing that without ever bringing it up. And I'll tell everybody real quick. So one evening, an old Cherokee told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside people. He said, "My son, the battle is between two wolves inside all of us. One is evil, the battle between good and evil, between the path we choose and the one that is chosen for us." And when he started talking about there's monsters inside of us and heroes, I was like, that's what they're referencing. I think that's what this season is going to be the gist of for Harrison, where he has to choose, do you want to be a good wolf or a bad wolf?
That's a good theory. I like that one.
Yeah, I really like that they brought that quote up without bringing that quote up, by the way, because I'm sick and fucking tired of hearing that quote in movies where there are no natives. So it was cool. Cool.
Maybe you're right, though. Maybe he's going to have to choose between one guy who he thinks is bad or good and one guy who he knows was like a good dad and everything, but Dexter killed his son. Yeah. Or to choose his dad who abandoned him and fucking killed all these people, whether they're murderers or not. Like,
yeah.
So maybe you're right, dude.
Maybe Harrison,
I like that.
Yeah, maybe Harrison has to pick between that wolf inside of him, is all I'm saying. Dude. And that's really supports the theory of that he has a dark passenger, just like Dexter.
Yeah, man. He's gonna be the new Trinity killer.
Bro, or like I said, there is literally at this point we're at a fork in the road where it can go 4 different ways, and it awesome.
Really can. And hopefully it's not some generic stupid like bailout or something like that. But I knowing them, and since this is like it's literally its own series,
yeah,
I don't think, and it's directed or like overseen by the guy who wrote the books, the original books,
and Michael C. Hall has a lot of creative input, and the original director of the filming has a lot of. I'm about that. I really like it, and the studio has not had much say over this because it is technically a limited series. This is a 1-season thing.
Yeah.
So I love it. Like I said, this episode was fantastic. Quick question I wanted to ask you before we ended this off with anything. If you could rank episode 1 through 4 in order, 1 being the best, 4 being the least, what would be your ranking for this so far?
3, 4, 1, 2.
That's almost exactly mine. Mine is 1, 3, 4, and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally, because 2 is an amazing episode
It's
too.
just really slow.
It's slower, but it's if you're
Context.
yeah, exactly.
Setting
And
the plot, dude. Setting
and
the
if
table.
you're like me and Ben, if you're a total Dexter mark where this show is just like one of your top 10 shows of all time type of shit,
You watch
like
the whole series at least like once every year or two or something. Like every you always
yeah,
come back and rewatch the thing. Like I've already watched the whole series at least 3 times now. So
that's how I am. And so for this season, I'll tell you right now, after this ends, I guarantee you I'll start it all over. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
Just to see the little things that they
and that right there
hidden in plain sight and stuff.
Yeah, and that right there is exactly. And that right there is it's super amazing that this show came back just as, if not more strong than originally. And like for this to be the route that it's going, it really gives me a lot of hope in the creative process of television shows.
Yeah. Well, at least for this show. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like,
no, I mean, yeah. Sorry.
There's a lot of fucking gunk out there, but
exactly.
there is there's some gems still.
Just wait until Netflix releases a Resident Evil television show, then I'll retract everything I said.
But yeah, so I guess we'll end it off here. Anything else you really want to add or no?
No, I'm curious about anybody listening, what your guys' favorite moments are in this episode. If you guys could drop them down below so we can maybe address them in the next episode. And also, so far as 4 episodes go that we've seen, which out of everybody listening, which storyline that they're building is your favorite so far? Is it Dexter's? Is it Deborah as a subconscious? Is it Angela, the cop? Is it her daughter? Is it Harrison? Is it Kurt? I really want to
a number of people, but yeah,
I want to hear what everybody's like favorite storyline is. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, and also let us know if there's anything that we missed, or there's something that you think that we're maybe right about or wrong about, or just let us know.
Or Easter eggs or anything like that.
Exactly, and we got a lot more of these coming. Coming, and
6 more.
If you made it this far, you rock. Make sure to check out the channel for tons more content. Thank you so much, Cultcanon. Much appreciated for you being here and taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. Much love.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, everybody be safe. Happy holidays. Shnerdcast out.